All right, hey, what's up, everybody? Mike Lindsley back with you. It's 9 minutes with me on IGTV, YouTube, and Facebook. Thanks for following along. Thanks for the support. Make sure that you go download my podcast, subscribe to it. It is called the ML Sports Platter on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. And while you're there, leave some feedback and rate it 5-star. Those things go a long way in terms of spreading the word about the ML Sports Platter podcast. We are supported by Timberbanks Golf Club, Brian Comboy of Mass Mutual New York State, and our terrific friends at Main Street Host. Make sure you go to mainstreethost.com. New sponsor in 2019. Go get a website analysis and see how you can grow your business through social and digital marketing strategies and solutions. Main Street Host, mainstreethost.com, a proud supporter of the ML Sports Platter. All right, over the next 8+ minutes or so, I'm going to kind of get into some things to expect tonight for the 2019 Baseball Hall of Fame voting. Now, look, before we get into this, I got to say that it's just a disgrace that Lee Smith and Harold Baines are in the Hall of Fame. I mean, these guys are not Hall of Famers. Lee Smith played for a long time, compiled numbers as a closer, was never really that dominating, was never the most dominant player, either by position in the field or hitting or whatever the case may be, starting pitchers, he just wasn't a dominant player at all. Mariano Rivera, is probably the greatest X factor in baseball the last 40 years, and you could maybe make the argument that Mo is the greatest X factor of all time, which could help his case as a unanimous selection, the first we've ever had. Why? Because the Padres had Trevor Hoffman. He got in last year. He, by the way, is also, in my opinion, a fringe Hall of Famer. You had Benitez. You had other closers going on through the Mark Wohlers. You had all these different guys when Rivera was pitching. But nobody had Mariano Rivera. You had good starting pitchers. You had Hall of Famers. You had elite players. Jeter, not taking anything away from him. But other teams had Hall of Famers. The Orioles had Cal Ripken Jr. The Mariners had Ken Griffey. I mean, other teams had amazing players. Other teams had amazing pitchers. But nobody had Mariano Rivera, and that's what separates him, in my opinion. There's nothing that separates Lee Smith. This is horseshit that he got into the Hall of Fame, and it's also garbage that Harold Baines is in the Hall of Fame. I mean, this guy's numbers are brutal. Now that Harold Baines is in the Hall of Fame, what is this new committee gonna do, this new era committee? They're gonna say now that, well, then we have to put Omar Vizquel in. We have to put Fred McGriff in. We have to put Todd Helton in. We have to put Larry Walker in. And while a couple of those names might very well be Hall of Famers, you shouldn't be putting people in because somebody else got in. You put them in because they're a Hall of Famer. You put them in because they're qualified. So who gets in tonight around 6 o'clock? There's 3 locks, in my opinion. Mariano Rivera, Roy Halladay, and Edgar Martinez. Now, Edgar is on his last year on the ballot, but this guy, he's already surpassing 90% of the ballots in terms of the BBHOFtracker.com. 53.4% of the ballots known as of 8:50 this morning. 100% ballots for Rivera. I still think there'll be some asshole who leaves him off, just like somebody left off Cobb and Ruth and Aaron and Mays and Gehrig and Clemente. I mean, come on. All these guys are Hall of Famers. They should have all been unanimous. Ken Griffey Jr. should have been unanimous. Cal Ripken and Tony Gwynn should have been unanimous. But, here we are. But Mo, obviously, home run, slam dunk, getting into the Hall of Fame. Roy Halladay at 92.7% of the votes as of almost 9 o'clock this morning. I think he's going to get in. He has had a huge uptick, and I'm not saying all this just because, he perished in that plane crash, but the reality is Roy Halladay, his numbers, people are looking at him pitching in the steroid era going, holy macro, man. He had to pitch against those great Yankee teams. He had to pitch against the Red Sox. He had to pitch against the Orioles. He had to pitch during the steroid era. Interleague play came about, so he had to play both sides of the card in terms of AL, NL. The guy was a stalwart in the postseason when he finally got there for the Phillies, threw a perfect game, threw a no-hitter. This guy, I think, is a Hall of Famer. Now, I don't know, on the first ballot, probably not, but I think he is a Hall of Famer eventually, and he'll benefit from just the recent traction that he's gotten. So he'll get in. I think Mariano, Roy Halladay, and Edgar Martinez will get in. There's 2 wild cards in this whole thing. Curt Schilling and Mike Mussina. Mike Mussina, I think, will eventually get into the Hall of Fame. I'm not sure if he's going to get in this year. Right now, he's tracking on about 80% of the ballots. You need 75 to get in. Right now, it looks like Mike Mussina is projected to get in, but there's still a plethora of ballots that have not yet been submitted. And so I'm just not sure in that world if, there might be a takeaway of 15, 20% and then a gain of 8, and all of a sudden you're back up around 73-5, and then you got to wait till next year when Derek Jeter goes in the Hall of Fame. So this is going to be a really, really interesting tale here to watch for Mike Mussina. Another guy, Curt Schilling, off the field stuff. People can't stand his attitude and all the rest. This guy's a Hall of Famer. I'm sorry. He really is. He did it in multiple places in the postseason. He's been a very formidable guy during the regular season. His win percentage is really good. His whip is really good. His strikeouts are great. He was ultra durable during his career. He fits the bill. He was one of the top 3 to 5 most dominant pitchers for a few years stretch there. What he did in Boston, was amazing in 2004 with the bloody sock and all that happy shit. I'm just going to leave it at that. Otherwise, I'm going to puke up my lunch. And I mean, what he did in Arizona, helping with Randy Johnson to beat the Yankees in 01. This guy was also very good for the Phillies. So he's a Hall of Famer. I just don't know, again, if he's going to get in this year. He was tracking at about 70.9% as of 850. Something tells me, and again, just a prediction here, Schilling and Moose just miss. I think that they have a great shot. I'm not going to be surprised if they get in, but I'm just predicting that they won't. I think that they'll just come up a little bit short. Now, of course, we've got the steroid guys. Another year here with guys like Roger Clemens, and Barry Bonds. They've been slowly but surely kind of crawling up in terms of the upward trend there, the trajectory to get into the Hall of Fame. I don't think either one of them will get in this year. Again, you need a minor miracle to get into the Hall of Fame if you're either one of those guys based on how the votes are at this current time. But they have until 2022 to get in. And my prediction is that they're going to slowly crawl up and get in either in 2021 or that last year of the ballot in 2022. Couple of other names to pay attention to. Larry Walker, he ended the BBWAA ballot in 2011. He was the first real test of a Rocky Coors Field. What about the numbers at home? His numbers were pretty damn good away, too. I'm on the fence with Larry Walker, but lately I've been thinking Larry Walker's a Hall of Famer. I'm not putting Larry Walker in because Harold Baines is in. I'm not putting him in because Alan Trammell's in. I'm putting him in because I think I'm leaning towards putting him in because he's Hall of Famer in more ways than one. Great numbers away from Mile High, so you can't even use that argument. And frankly, you know what? His consideration will probably help Todd Helton. There's no question about that. The today's game era, it's going to be very interesting to see what they do over the next, 2, 3, 4 years with guys who miss out on the ballot altogether. Fred McGriff, he's trending towards about 40%, won't get into the Hall of Fame this year, but I think he's going to get consideration in his first Veterans Committee cycle, which is the today's game era. And I think that they'll probably put him in. So he'll get in eventually. He won't get in on the real ballot. But that's how I think tonight's going to go. I think you're going to have some fringe guys. I think you're going to have Moose and Schilling just miss, but get in next year with Derek Jeter. And I think you're going to get Mariano Rivera, Roy Halladay, and Edgar Martinez locks for the Hall of Fame. Again, Roy Halladay, Mariano Rivera, Edgar Martinez, Hall of Famers. They'll join Lee Smith and Harold Baines, which is a complete joke, by the way. Those two guys should not be in it. There's a bunch of other guys in the Hall of Fame. I could spend an hour telling you who shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. But those are the three that'll get in. The wild cards are Schilling and Mussina. Bonds and Clemens slowly but surely up the ladder. They'll get in maybe two or 3 years. And then you've got wild cards to see if they eventually get in, like Larry Walker, Todd Helton, Fred McGriff, Omar Vizquel, those kind of guys as well. Thanks for watching 9 Minutes with Mike Lindsley, IGTV, YouTube, Facebook. Hit me on Twitter at Mike L Sports. The Hall of Fame class of 2019 released tonight at 6 p.m. on MLB Network. As I always tell you, enjoy the games.